I hit the continue button on Maquette, thinking that I could just load up a save and be able to explore some of the puzzles and show you how the game works while I do my review. But on hitting the continue button after beating the game, I'm now on a screen where I'm stuck and none of my buttons can move or do anything. I can't even pause the game to be able to get back to the menu and quit. It's like a soft lock because I just finished the game. So I'm going to stitch this bit into the rest of the video and we'll talk about Maquette. So now we've gotten ourselves out of our softlock situation, here is Maquette. It's a puzzle game. You walk around, you interact with things. The central hook is, while the story is going on in the background, there is a smaller version of the world inside the world. And conversely, if you look outside your world, you'll see there's a bigger version of the world outside your world. So you solve puzzles, such as, for instance, this big red box being in your way, by going to the model, and you can pick up the box, well, you can just drop it somewhere, I guess. And that solves the puzzle and lets you progress. Puzzles get a little bit more complicated as you go on. You have to pick things up and rotate them. There'll be situations where you'll want to pick something up, move it into the model, then pick it up again and move it into the model again to make it smaller. But that's basically the gist of it, is that the world is recursive, and things you do can make big things small and small things big. There's occasionally ways to get out of this area and out into the bigger world so you can make yourself small. That's it. That's the game. It's about 3 hours long. It would have been shorter if I was, I'm going to say smarter at the game, but there was a puzzle I got stuck on for about 25 minutes because there was something I had to do that the game didn't teach me I could do, which involved picking things up through these kind of mesh fences, which in every other occasion I tried to do it didn't work, but that was the solution to that particular problem, was just to do it there. So that was frustrating. It is possible to get yourself into unwinnable states. There are puzzles later in the game that involve keys, essentially, and it's entirely plausible for you to be able to stick something outside of the playable area and then be unable to get back to it, or be able to move it from where it lands and be unable to proceed. If that happens, your only option is to load a save game that you've hopefully created regularly, or restart. The restart button restarts the entire chapter. So if you've solved half a dozen puzzles to get to a particular part, and then you get yourself stuck, hope you enjoy doing all those puzzles again. That also happened to me. Great fun. Other than that, then, the game just lacks polish. It's free with PlayStation Plus for PlayStation 5, as I mentioned earlier, and honestly, I think it was rushed to reach that date. There are problems with the game, just small things, but altogether they add up to give a picture of an unpolished product. If you go into the settings menu, when I returned to the settings menu after I played the game initially this morning and took a break for lunch, it had forgotten that I turned on subtitles in the text settings, which meant that when I started playing and people started talking, that the subtitles didn't appear because the game had forgotten I ticked the box. Then there's just small things even in these menus, if I go to the audio settings, it's gonna be fine now, but yeah. Go to text settings. Yeah, I fixed it. If you go back in the video, and trust me when I say that I'm not lying, you'll see that it said that the BGM and SFX were at 0.5 instead of 1 when they were all the way at the top of the thing. It's there a minute ago in the video, trust me. So the UI stuff is bad. And then even when I turned subtitles back on, which turned out to be the end of the game, subtitles didn't play for the final dialogue of the game. I mean, I had no trouble hearing it myself, but the whole point of subtitles is for people to be able to read what's being said in case they're playing in a noisy environment or straight up cannot hear. And the subtitles often don't match the dialogue that's being said. There is also more story being told to you over the course of the game by text that appears on walls as you progress, which we'll get a little bit of that here to show you. It should pop up as I come across in here. We spent afternoons drawing together. None of that's voiced, which would be nice to be able to give it a bit more ambience, but that's fine, at least it's written down. Some of that text didn't stay on screen. There were several parts of it over the course of my playthrough where I'd be walking towards something and the text would pop up and just like, wait, and then disappear again. And there'd be no way to bring it back up. Like, that text appears and disappears pretty much at random, it feels like. And sometimes it'll reappear and sometimes it'll stay where it was until you've went past an invisible trigger that makes it go away. But sometimes you'll just be walking forward and it'll pop up and go away again, presumably because I was moving too fast and hit the wrong trigger to make it disappear again. Again, considering the story is the main draw to what you want to get through the game, that's kind of a small issue, but again, it all just adds up together to be a frustrating experience. Lastly, small things again, but like there were several places where you're exploring the world and you'd be able to see like underneath the world because the textures or the meshes didn't quite line up, and you'd be able to see a light pouring in and stuff like that. It feels like a sort of game that feels like it's done playtesting, but just needs another pass or two for quality of life to make sure it's as shiny as it could be. And I don't think it got that because of the fact that it had to come out for Plus. It's a shame. The central puzzle idea is great. There's just not really a lot to it. It's free on Plus with PlayStation 5 version only. If you have a PS5, sure, give it a go. You'll beat it in 3 hours. You might enjoy it more than I did, but I just found it to be frustrating and often obtuse with how it wanted you to solve its puzzles. I never really felt like I was being smart when I solved the puzzles, more just like, oh, right, it wanted me to do this. I'm sure some of that's probably on me, but, like, I can't recommend paying money for it. Like, it's just not that enjoyable.